Let's explore how the useEffect hook can be used to manage the lifecycle of functional components in React. We will discover how it serves as a replacement for class-based lifecycle methods. Let's compare class components with functional components enhanced with hooks. Class components often involve complex lifecycle methods, more boilerplate code, and this binding issues, which can make testing and optimization harder. On the other hand, functional components with hooks offer a simpler and more intuitive approach, requiring less code for the same functionality, promoting better code reusability, and making the code easier to understand. Let's explore the basics of the useEffect hook. The code shows how to import useEffect from React and use it inside a functional component. Inside the useEffect hook, you can place any side effect logic, such as data fetching, subscriptions, or manually changing the DOM. The basic syntax looks like this: useEffect with a function inside. This function will be executed after every render. Essentially, useEffect lets you perform side effects in functional components. Let's see how useEffect replaces componentDidMount. In class components, componentDidMount is used to perform actions after the component has been mounted to the DOM. With useEffect, you can achieve the same behavior by passing an empty array as the second argument. This tells React to run the effect only once, after the initial render. Notice the arrow between the class component example and the useEffect hook example, showing how we are moving from the old way of doing things to the new way of using React hooks. This is how useEffect with an empty dependency array replicates the behavior of componentDidMount. Let's see how useEffect replaces componentDidUpdate. In class components, componentDidUpdate is used to perform actions after the component has been updated, which can be based on certain conditions. Using useEffect, you can monitor specific variables. The effect will run whenever the values of these variables change. For example, if you want to fetch user data whenever the user ID prop changes, you can include user ID in the dependency array. This tells React to run the effect only when user ID changes, replicating the behavior of componentDidUpdate. Note the arrow between the class component example and the useEffect hook example, showing the change from the old way to the new way. Let's see how useEffect replaces componentWillUnmount. In class components, componentWillUnmount is used to perform cleanup actions before the component is unmounted, such as clearing intervals or removing event listeners. With useEffect, you can return a cleanup function from the effect. This function will be executed when the component is unmounted. For example, if you set up an interval, you can clear it in the cleanup function. This ensures that the interval is cleared when the component is no longer needed, preventing memory leaks. Once again, take note of the arrow between the class component example and the useEffect hook example, showcasing the transition from class components to functional components with hooks. Let's explore the useEffect dependency array. When no dependencies are provided, the effect runs on every render of the component. When an empty array is provided, the effect runs only once, after the initial render. When dependencies are provided, the effect runs whenever any of the dependencies change. The key takeaway is that dependencies control when useEffect runs. Here's a complete example of using useEffect to manage the lifecycle of a functional component. This example combines the functionalities of componentDidMount, componentDidUpdate, and componentWillUnmount into a single useEffect hook. Inside the useEffect, the code fetches user data when the user ID changes. Also, a cleanup function is returned that cancels any pending request if the component unmounts or the user ID changes before the data fetching is complete. The benefits of using useEffect include cleaner code, better logic organization, and enhanced performance. If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit CodeLucky.com for more such useful content.